My name is Emily Davis, whose name has been changed. I am a simple girl who loves nature and outdoor activities. I have two close friends, Chris and Sarah, whose names have been changed. We often go picnicking or fishing together on free weekends. On a beautiful Sunday afternoon in late spring of 2023, we decided to go on a fishing trip to a rural area quite far from the city. We chose a spot along the Ohio River in rural Kentucky. This place was quite secluded, with little traffic, and the natural scenery was beautiful, with green trees and a gently flowing river. We drove to the location, found a flat spot near the riverbank to lay out our mat. Above us were large old trees, providing cool shade. The air here was very fresh, very pleasant. Birds chirped, the wind gently rustled through the leaves, and the river water flowed softly. We prepared our fishing gear together, baited our hooks, cast our lines into the water. We sat there, talking, laughing, enjoying the peace of the countryside. The Ohio River at this section looked quite calm, the surface of the water smooth. The river water was a bit murky, not too deep near the bank, but looking towards the middle of the river, it seemed deep. We sat fishing under the trees. Fish bit quite consistently, but they weren't big fish, just small ones. Anyway, our main purpose was to relax and enjoy time together. Time passed by quickly. The afternoon gradually turned into evening. The sunlight began to fade, giving way to darkness. We decided to stay and fish a little longer, enjoying the twilight atmosphere. As darkness began to fall, the atmosphere around seemed to change. The peace of the day gave way to something a little quieter and more mysterious. Insects began to chirp. We still sat there, patiently waiting for a bite. The cursed fishing trip had just begun, and we didn't know that the peaceful beauty of this place hid a terrifying secret beneath the riverbed. We sat there, under the canopy of the old trees, continuing to fish as darkness fell. The faint light from the flashlights we brought illuminated a small area around us. The Ohio River below now looked very dark and mysterious. I could only hear the gentle sound of the flowing water. I cast my line into the water, patiently waiting. Suddenly, I felt a strong tug on the line. My heart beat faster. Big fish. I tried to pull the rod up, but it felt like the hook was stuck on something very firm underwater. It wasn't a fish. I yanked the rod, trying to free the hook, but it was no use. The line was taut, unmoving. My hook was stuck on something underwater. Perhaps a tree root, a rock, or a broken branch. The area where we were fishing had many trees growing close to the bank, and there might be many things underwater. I tried pulling and yanking a few more times, but it was useless. Chris and Sarah looked at me. "What's wrong, Emily?" Chris asked. "My line is stuck," I said, feeling a bit frustrated. "Stuck on something underwater." Sarah looked towards me, getting a little closer. "Where is it stuck?" Sarah asked. Right there under the tree near the bank," I said, pointing to the area of water near the large tree we were sitting under. Sarah looked down at the water in that area. The river water was murky, she couldn't see anything below. "Just cut the line, Emily," Sarah said. "The hook isn't worth much. Cut it and be quick." Chris also nodded. "Yeah, just cut it. Fumbling around in the water is dangerous." I hesitated a little. I didn't want to lose my favorite hook. Moreover, I was curious about what it was stuck on. I'll just try to see what it's stuck on first," I said. "Maybe I can free it." The line of fate seemed to be pulling me closer to the water's edge, closer to the mystery hidden beneath. I put the fishing rod down and walked closer to the water's edge. I bent down, trying to look into the area of water where the line was taut. Chris and Sarah backed away a little, looking at me worriedly. "Be careful, Emily," Chris said. I stared intently at the murky water's surface, trying to see through the water to find out what the hook was stuck on. I didn't know that my curiosity would lead to a horrifying encounter. I bent down, staring intently at the murky water's surface near the riverbank. My fishing line was taut, pulling straight down. I tried to look through the dark water, hoping to see tree roots or rocks. I looked closer, my eyes fixed on the water's surface. And then, I saw something right beneath the water's surface. Not too deep. A shadow. A black shadow. It was down there, blurry in the murky water. The shadow had a long shape, not like a fish or a rock. Then, as I looked even closer, I saw a detail that sent shivers down my spine. Hair. Long hair. Black. It was floating in the water, like long black seaweed. That long black hair seemed to be wrapped around something. And that black shadow, it was moving. Very slowly, like someone waiting. I froze. My heart pounded in my chest. A black shadow waiting beneath the water with long black hair. This wasn't a tree root. This wasn't a rock. This was something else. Something terrifying. I was fixated on that black shadow. Shocked and scared. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. Was it real, or was I mistaken? But that shadow was very clear. That long black hair was very real. And it was moving. Black shadow beneath the riverbed. It was right below me, hidden in the murky water. A sudden cold draft enveloped me. Colder than the air outside. That cold came from the river. From that black shadow. I felt as if it was looking up at me from underwater. As if it knew I was there. My curiosity had led to a horrifying encounter. The thing hidden in the murky water had revealed itself. I knew I shouldn't be here anymore. I shouldn't be looking at that. I quickly stepped back, trembling. I turned around, looking at Chris and Sarah, my face pale with fear. They looked at me questioningly. I knew I had to tell them what I had seen. Black shadow beneath the riverbed. The melody of fear had begun to play. I turned around, looking at Chris and Sarah, my face pale with fear. I took a deep breath, trying to speak, but my voice was trembling, stuttering. I saw. Chris and Sarah looked at me worriedly. "What did you see, Emily?" Sarah asked softly. Underwater. Right where my line is stuck," I said, my voice still trembling. There was a black shadow." Chris and Sarah looked at each other, then looked towards the riverbank where I had just been standing. "Black shadow?" Chris asked, his voice slightly puzzled. "Big fish?" "No, not a fish," I said, my voice a little louder. It was a shadow. It had hair." I recounted what I had seen, the long black shadow, the black hair floating in the water, and the shadow moving, as if waiting underwater. As I spoke, Chris and Sarah's faces slowly changed from puzzled to astonished, then to fear. "Hair?" Sarah said softly, her eyes wide. "Yes, long black hair," I said, nodding quickly. It wasn't normal. My fear was very real. They saw it in my eyes, in my trembling voice. Are you sure?" Chris asked, his voice also starting to tremble. "Absolutely," I said, I saw it clearly. A black shadow, with long black hair, underwater. We stood there, under the trees, in the twilight darkness, with the soft sound of the river flowing. The atmosphere became tense and terrifying. Sarah and Chris looked at each other, then looked towards the river. They didn't see anything, just the murky water surface. But they believed me. They believed in my fear. The trembling account had revealed a horrifying truth. There was something not normal in this river. A black shadow with long black hair. And it was right down there, where we were sitting and fishing. David, who wasn't there when I saw it, but he also heard our conversation, walked closer, his face full of worry. "What's going on? Is something wrong?" David asked. Chris and I together recounted to David what I had seen. David listened seriously, his face gradually becoming more serious. After we finished telling him, David was silent for a moment. He looked towards the dark river. Black shadow. Long hair. Underwater. David muttered, as if thinking. Then, he looked at us, his eyes full of fear and understanding. That's not a fish," David said softly, his voice lowered. That's something else." The truth from the river had been confirmed by David's terrifying understanding. David's confirmation that the black shadow beneath the riverbed was not a normal thing sent our fear levels through the roof. We knew that we had accidentally encountered something supernatural and terrifying. David looked towards the dark river, his face full of tension. "This place isn't good," David said softly. "That's a ghost. A drowned ghost. Or something similar." Hearing David say that, I shivered. A drowned ghost. That matched the black shadow and long hair I had seen. Chris also looked very scared. What do we do now?" Chris asked, his voice trembling. David looked at us, his eyes full of determination, though still fearful. "Pack up your rods," David said decisively. "Right now. We have to leave immediately. This place is very dangerous." None of us objected. Fear had overridden everything else. We knew David was right. We shouldn't stay here for another minute. We quickly rushed towards our fishing gear. Our hands shaking, fumbling, we hurriedly reeled in our lines, lowered our rods. I still felt as if someone was watching us from the direction of the river. The cold feeling from the river seemed stronger. We did everything as quickly as possible, not caring about packing our gear neatly. Backpacks and tackle boxes were thrown in haphazardly. My fishing rod still had the hook stuck underwater. I didn't hesitate anymore. "Cut the line, Emily," David said, his voice full of urgency. "Leave it." I quickly took out a small knife from my backpack and cut the fishing line. A small snap echoed in the silence. My fishing line now remained with the hook and a part of the line stuck beneath the riverbed. Along with the terrifying thing I had seen. Cutting the line and running. That was the only action we could take at this moment. After packing up our gear in the most temporary way possible, we quickly left the fishing area. We didn't walk. We ran along the small trail leading out. Ran away from the river. Ran away from the black shadow with long hair underwater. We ran until our lungs burned. Our legs ached. Didn't dare look back. Didn't say a word. Just ran. Pure terror had turned our fishing trip into a flight from the supernatural. "This place is very dangerous." David's warning echoed in our minds. And we knew he was right. We had seen something evil. And we had run away from it. The fishing trip in the peaceful countryside ended with a horrifying escape from something terrifying. We had seen a black shadow with long hair beneath the surface of the Ohio River. And that truth haunted us. We got home utterly exhausted and terrified. None of us could sleep that night. The image of the blurry black shadow underwater, the long black hair swirling, and the cold feeling when looking at it, haunted me constantly. The days that followed were a real nightmare. I couldn't forget what I had seen. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that scene again. Like a looping video. I didn't dare go near any bodies of water anymore. especially at night. Just looking at water sent shivers down my spine. The Ohio River, once a peaceful place to relax, now became a terrifying place in my mind. I knew that Chris and David were also heavily haunted. We didn't talk much about that trip, but I knew that we both carried the fear and the horrifying memory. The truth beneath the river had changed us. We searched for more information about ghost stories related to the Ohio River in Kentucky. We found some rumors about unexplained drownings, about shadows being seen underwater, especially in deep sections of the river or near secluded areas. Some stories told of spirits trapped underwater, unable to find peace, and that they were angry at people who disturbed their rest. Perhaps our fishing there had disturbed the black shadow beneath the river. Haunted back home, even when I was in my familiar house, I still felt as if someone was watching me. Sometimes, I would hear strange noises, the faint sound of water being stirred from somewhere in the house. Even though there was no water, I knew it wasn't my imagination. The black shadow beneath the river had followed me, or the energy from it had followed me. The terrifying truth is that supernatural things are real, and we can accidentally encounter them in places we least expect. The cursed fishing trip showed me another side of this world, a dark and terrifying side. I don't know what that black shadow beneath the river was. A drowned spirit? An evil entity? I don't know. I only know that it was real, and it has left a deep scar on my mind. Haunted by the lake bed will forever cling to me, and the truth beneath the Ohio River, mysterious and terrifying, will forever be a part of my life. If you enjoyed these true horror stories, or stories based on accounts and unexplained mysteries, like this, don't forget to hit the subscribe button on the channel to follow our latest videos. We will bring you more terrifying and haunting stories. Thank you for listening.